Hello students, welcome to our chapter Software and its Type, where we will be introduced to computer softwares, languages and much more. To begin with, computer software is a collection of programs that contain specific instructions for a computer to perform a particular task. In other words, a software is a set of programs that are stored and run on a computer and help users to work on the computer. Some of the commonly used softwares are Windows, Mac, Android, MS Word, MS Paint, Scratch, amongst others. The software can be divided according to its function into two main types: system software and application software. We will be learning about these in detail in our chapter. System software interacts with the computer hardware directly and allows us to communicate with the hardware. It controls the functions of a computer system. It reads data from input devices and sends the processed information to output devices. System software can be further divided into operating systems, language processors, and utility programs. Let's start with the operating system. An operating system, or OS, controls and manages the hardware and software of the computer system. It acts as an interface between the user and computer hardware and allows you to communicate with the computer. Every computer must have at least one OS. A computer cannot work without it. Examples of some popular OS include Microsoft Windows, Apple Mac OS, Linux, Android, and iOS. Let's look at the functions of operating systems. The operating system performs the following functions. Starting with device management, an OS controls the working of all input and output devices. Second is memory management. It assigns space in the computer to various programs whenever required. It also frees up the memory when not in use. Third function is processor management. The OS also manages the working of the processor by allocating various tasks to it in a systematic and efficient way. Next is file management. It keeps a record of information regarding the creation, deletion, transfer, copying, and storage of files in an organized way. And lastly, security. It provides security by means of password to prevent unauthorized access to a computer or files stored on it. Let's move on to the second part of system softwares, which are language processors. A computer understands instructions only when it is given in a machine language, that is, in the form of zeros and ones. However, it is very difficult for humans to understand and write programs in such a language. Therefore, programs for a computer are written in a high-level programming language such as Java, C++, Python, and others. A language processor is a special software that converts a high-level language program into its machine language form that can then run on a computer. Some examples are again right here. Next, we have the third part, which is utility programs. These are softwares used to maintain and efficiently run the computer, its devices, or its programs such as operating systems, word processors, or spreadsheets. Let's look at the description of some of the most commonly used utility programs. Antivirus utilities are used to scan files for malware, which are malicious softwares, and to remove them from the computer system. The examples are Norton Antivirus and BullGuard. Next is backup utility. These are used to make a copy of all the information stored on a disk so that it can be restored in case of a disk failure. It creates a backup of files, folders, documents, and software data. Examples for this are backup PC and duplicity. Then is the file compression utility, which is used to compress files into a smaller size so that they occupy less space when stored in the computer. It is also easier to send compressed files through email because it takes much less time to attach and send bulky files. However, the compressed files cannot be read directly and must be decompressed to their actual form before use. Examples of which are WinZip and WinRAR. The last utility program we'll be learning about are disk defragmenters. As we know, files are stored in the computer on the hard disk. The hard disk is divided into smaller portions called sectors. When a file needs to be stored, the operating system looks for free sectors available on the disk. When sufficient free sectors are not available in the same location, a file may not get stored there. Therefore, if files are frequently created, modified and deleted on the disk, fragmentation occurs, meaning the files get divided into pieces that are scattered around the disk. To prevent this, the disk defragmentation utility organizes the files stored across several locations to one location. For example, Windows 10 has an inbuilt defragmentation utility called defragment and optimize drives. Now students, let's learn in detail about computer languages. We know that a language is a medium to share our views or communicate with each other. However, to communicate with a computer, we need a language that a computer can understand. A computer always needs instructions to perform various tasks. A program is a set of instructions written in a computer language that tells a computer what to do, for which a programming language is used. When a program is written in a specific computer language, it is called programming language. The process of writing a program is called programming, and a person who writes computer programs is called a computer programmer. Programmers use programming languages to develop applications. For example, MS Excel is a set of programs developed using a specific programming language. A variety of programming languages have been used to communicate with the computer from the first generation to the current generation. For example, Logo, Basic, C++, Visual Basic, Java, and Python. Computer languages can be classified into the following broad categories or types. A machine language is the first generation of language or binary language developed for communicating with a computer. It uses a pattern of the binary digits 0 and 1 to write instructions in a program and is called a low-level language. Features of machine learning include that it is written in zeros and ones format, which are called binary digits. And an example of machine learning is binary language. Also, this language is called the first generation language or 1GL. Let's take a look at the advantages of machine language. Firstly, this is the only language that a computer understands. And the main advantage of using the machine language is that it works faster and does not require any translator to convert the code to binary language. However, there are a few disadvantages to this. Programming using machine language is a tough and time-consuming process. It is also very difficult to write and test the programs written in machine language. And it is difficult to find errors, which are actions that are inaccurate or incorrect in a written program. Lastly, the program can only run on a specific single type of computer. Let's move on to the second type of computer language now, which is the assembly language. It uses English keywords or symbols or mnemonics to represent the different instructions in machine language. Mnemonics refer to an abbreviation for an operation. For example, if the operation code for the add instruction is 0010 in machine language, it can be directly written as ADD or add in assembly language. The assembly language program needs to be converted to equivalent binary code so that the computer can execute the instructions. And assemblers are the language translators that convert an assembly code to its equivalent binary code. Let's proceed with looking into the features of assembly code. Like we learned, in this language, words or names in English language and symbols were used instead of binary digits called mnemonics. Also, a translator is required to convert assembly language code into machine language called an assembler. And this language is called a second generation language or 2GL. Going further with its advantages, it takes less time to write programs and it is easy to find errors in a program. The disadvantages of assembly languages are: a program written in assembly language is difficult to write, read, edit, and understand, and that the assembly language programs are not portable to any other computer system. Therefore, assembly language is also called a low-level language. Moving on to the third type, which is the high-level languages or HLL. A computer program written using short English phrases is called a high-level language program. However, the computer cannot understand a high-level language. Therefore, it has to be converted to machine language using translators. Programs written in a high language can run on different computers and are easy to write, read, edit, and understand. Some basic examples are BASIC, C, C++, Java, and Python. The features of high-level language, it is quite similar to the English language and is simple as well as user-friendly. And it is easier to debug a program, which is a process of detection and removing errors. This language is called the third generation language or 3GL. The advantages of HLL are: it is easy to write, debug, and maintain, hence it is programmer friendly. It is also easy to read the programs written in high-level language because they are written in English words and phrases. And that it is easy to detect and correct any error in high-level language. The disadvantages of HLL include: translation from HLL code to machine language takes additional time, and it is comparatively slower than low-level language, and that this language cannot communicate directly with the hardware. Now, let's learn about the fourth and final category of computer languages, which are fourth generation languages or 4GL. These consist of statements similar to statements in a human language. They are more visual and do not require a considerable amount of programming knowledge. Languages for accessing database, which are organized collection of structured information stored electronically in a computer system, and the languages for also accessing scripts, which is a list of commands that are executed by a certain program, generally fall under this category. It is designed to reduce the overall time, effort, and cost of software development. SQL, or a structured query language, is one of the widely used examples of 4GL. Some examples are Perl, PHP, and Ruby. The features of fourth generation languages contain the fact that these languages are easier to learn as they are very close to human languages than the old high-level language, and that this language can be used to reduce the cost, time, and efforts of software development. They are also called modern high-level languages. Moving to its advantages, 4GLs are developed for general purpose use. They are much faster than the old generation languages, and the graphic user interface or GUI technology in 4GLs offers much more comfort to the users. And a major disadvantage of fourth generation language is that the programs that are developed using this language require more memory space. Going forward with translators now. Like we know, when a program is written in a high-level language, it is not understood by a computer. Therefore, it has to be converted into machine language for execution. So, to translate any high-level language program into machine language, a translator is required called the language processor. There are three types of language translators, namely assemblers, compilers, and interpreters. An assembler is a program that converts the assembly language program into machine code. Assemblers are similar to compilers, which also produce executable code. However, assemblers only convert low-level code that is in assembly language to machine code. Next, a compiler converts all instructions of high-level language program, that is the source code, into machine language at one go and generates the corresponding machine language code, that is the object code. If any instruction in the computer has an error, it cannot be compiled into an object code. C or C++ programs are first compiled and then the object code is executed. An object code can be executed any number of times without the need for the original program. Third type is an interpreter, which converts one statement of a source program at a time and executes that statement before converting the next statement. If there is an error in the statement, the interpreter stops working and displays an error message. It does not produce object code. It translates the high-level source code into executable code. Visual Basic and Python use an interpreter. Let us properly understand the difference between compiler and interpreter. The compiler translates the whole program at a time, whereas an interpreter translates only one statement of a program at a time. In a compiler, all the errors are shown at the end together, whereas in an interpreter, the errors are shown line by line. Compiler has less execution time. Interpreters take more time for execution. The compiler converts the source code into object code. The interpreter converts the source code into executable code. For later execution, the compiler does not require source code, but it does require source code for an interpreter. Examples of compilers are C, C++, C#, amongst others. And examples of interpreters are Python, Ruby, etc. And now finally, let's learn about the second type of computer software, which is the application software. An application software is a set of one or more programs used to accomplish a specific task, such as creating and formatting documents, performing calculations, drawing and editing images, etc. MS Office is an example of an application software suite that consists of different applications such as a word processor, a spreadsheet, and a presentation application. Application software can further be grouped into two categories: customized software and general purpose or packed software. A customer software is an application developed specially to solve a particular task for an individual or organization. For example, the payroll software of an organization, the railway reservation system, similar to many others. And a general purpose or packed software aims at solving common problems such as formatting text, creating charts, organizing tables, creating graphics, and so on. This software is easily available online and material that provides user support. Some examples of general-purpose softwares include Microsoft Office Suite and OpenOffice Suite. General-purpose softwares can be categorized into many types. A word processing general-purpose software is used to create, edit, save, or print the documents saved in your computer. Examples are OpenOffice Writer, MS Word, and WordPerfect. Another is Spreadsheet. It is used to organize, store, and analyze data stored in tabular form. This is the example for this: OpenOffice Cal or MS Excel. Third are database management systems, which are used to store, manipulate, or retrieve specific or entire data stored in the database. For example, OpenOffice Base, MS Access, and so on. Next are presentations. They allow you to create presentations to present information in an interesting and interactive way. Examples are OpenOffice Impress and Microsoft PowerPoint. Then we have graphic designing. It is used to edit or manipulate an image or save it in different file formats like CorelDRAW, GIMP, and Adobe Photoshop. Sixth are web browsers, which are used to view websites and perform various activities like through using Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, or Firefox. The seventh and last category of general purpose software that we'll be learning is multimedia and entertainment. It is used to play various audio and video files stored in the computer. For example, VLC player, computer games, and the Windows Media Player. So students, with that, we have come to the end of our chapter Software and its Types, where we learnt about the types of computer software and also computer languages amongst other topics in detail. Hope you all have had a blast going through this exciting chapter. See you in the next class, students. Until then, bye-bye.